Hello everybody. Excuse me. Hello everybody, it's Tim. Alright, we got the Motorola pretty much put back together. The 62T1 I believe is the number. I did the alignment. I made a video, but it was such a comedy of errors that I don't think I'm going to actually use it. Just too many things happened. One of the things I did realize though on this that was really kind of hard to find, so if you're ever working on something like this or anything, if you notice on the chassis I put right here shortwave and AM. Well, working backwards and trying to follow the schematic and looking underneath it, it was kind of hard to decide if it was on AM or shortwave half the time. And if you even look at the case, they don't tell you which band, and I'll move this out of the way, they don't tell you which band is AM or BC as they called it in shortwave. They just merely said band. So what I did was actually just follow the schematic and mark them, and then that way it took a lot of the guesswork out of it, because I would forget which way it was, and then I was working backwards. And anyhow, it's done and put back together, pretty cleaned up. I'll show you the filter cap. Let me see if I can spin it around here. Don't mind all that noise. It's the washing machine running, the monster washing machine. I don't have it on the tripod, so it's a little shaky, but there's the gain capacitor. And it wasn't real dirty. I would have showed how I clean those when they get really dirty. My secret is actually I use like the scrubbing bubbles basin tub and towel cleaner. I take it off there, strip it all down as much as I can, put it in a wash tub, hit it with that, and you'll be amazed within 2 to 3 minutes it looks disgusting. The brown that comes off of it from the cigarette smoke when it's affected by that. That one wasn't too bad. Nothing on this really was. Just basically dirt and dust. And nothing's really been painted or touched up or anything. Everything just cleaned. So I'll show you the underneath. The one thing I did was I put a different strain relief on here as I replaced the cord. It's a polarized 2-prong. And I also put in underneath here, you can see the holder. That's a I put a fuse in there, and I looked, and I think this takes about roughly half an amp, about the most it would ever call for. And I just happen to have a 1 amp. I just put it in there. So I'll have to run out and get something that's a little closer to half an amp and put them in there. And I don't expect that it would ever blow if everything's running fine with it, but just another little bit of safety. You can see here too let me zoom into it a little bit. The X and Y caps for the safety caps. Those are right there. Oops, try to get that in there right behind my thumb. The filter caps are right there. See, I replaced where they were before I had them laying on the board while I was getting tuned in. All these resistors, the old style resistors, and I can't remember what they're called, but they were all really close as far as with the resistance that was on them. One of the things I had to do was restring the, let me see if I can get it down here. I had to restring the both the dowel cord, and I'll show you that. It's 2 pieces in a second. Let's see, all the caps that were redone. Just about every capacitor in here that wasn't a ceramic or a mica cap got redone. And we'll move it back over here. We can take a look. Here's the way they do this. Let me back it off a little bit here. So, because they run a string or a cord up from that wheel that turns, or up from the shaft rather, right here, that turns, comes up to this wheel. Now, I couldn't find instructions anywhere, but I counted that there was 5 loops on it before. Whether that was the way it's always been or not, I don't know. That's what I put on it again. I bought some cord from, I believe it was Bob's Antique Radios online, and real good price on the cord, nice cord. So I replaced that, and while I was at it, I also replaced the cord that actually runs the dial back and forth. What else was I going to say? Oh, this spring was destroyed, the original one. Let's see if I can dig the other one up. Somebody had it hooked onto here, right, and I don't know why. So it was about this long and all floppy. So I couldn't find them anywhere within reason. So I went to Home Depot and they had a basically a spring kit that came with a bunch of different springs for like $5 or $6, and I got that. And a couple of springs, that's not an exact match for the spring, but it's pretty darn close, and it'll work a whole lot better than what was there before. So let's see, here's all the other parts I want to put on. I want to put it back together. I think I'm done working on it for a while. Here's the case here. There's some areas here where I should probably redo the case, but we'll see what happens. The speaker on this sounds a little bit crappy. I don't know if it's fried or if there's anything that can be done with it, and it's one of those what do they call dynamic magnet speakers, but the one that has the field from the power supply, it actually supplies the inductor to help smooth out the AC ripple. That actually runs in the back and supplies since it's not a permanent magnet, it's a dynamic magnet, that supplies the electrical current for that. So I don't know if I want to get into changing all that. This was one of these things that the more I did, the more I had to do. So what I'm going to do is I just wanted to show you with everything put in there that I'm ready to put it back together. So I'll start putting it back together, and I'll stop and take a couple more pictures, and eventually we'll have it back together, see what it looks like in the case, and then maybe even turn it on and hear how it sounds. It tuned pretty good. And one of the things I did want to say was I followed the manual, the part of the manual I could find that told about the tune-up, and basically it has you run most of the inputs right to the mixer oscillator right here, and I put the inputs into that, and it was actually when I was done and I wanted to go over it again to try some things, because I told you the whole A and B switch, or the AM and shortwave switch, all I did was I hooked a antenna to my signal generator. You could even make it with a loop or anything, and I laid it down beside the actual antenna on the radio, which is the back panel here. I'll show you. That's I laid it down beside that, and it worked just as well for the alignment. The only thing I ended up doing there at the vacuum tube was I did the IF stage, but for all the other inputs and the dial alignment, I just put a signal very close to this antenna, and then I was able to adjust everything. And like I said, that was just a check when I was done, and it was almost identical to, in fact, I think it might have been a little bit better than the way the manual had told me about injecting the signal into the tube here. One other thing is I used my night signal generator to redo it, or to do it the first time, and then I used an electronic signal generator, a solid state device, and that made life a little bit easier. The night generates so many harmonics that I was picking up frequencies or tones all up and down the dial. But and I'm not sure if that's really the way that they worked, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of circuitry in that, so I wouldn't be surprised if that did depend a lot on harmonics. But without further ado, I'm going to start to put it back together, and I'll show you pictures as it's going.